Now, anyone that knows me know that I have a heart for the youth. Today's society is going through a lot right now. So many young people are being challenged in so many areas. They're being challenged in three primary areas that I see all the time: drugs, gangs, and violence. Those three areas. You have kids that are challenged in the areas of drugs, dealing with drugs, substance abuse, gangs, to join a gang, whether or not to join a gang, and violence. You see it all the time. I represent people that are as young as 9 years old, and I do a lot of juvenile work, and so many young people are suffering in those areas. So after looking at all this and seeing all this and experiencing all this, I knew that we had to have a show to take care of these issues. Now, I know this issue is just too big for one show, so I said, you know what? We need a series. We need to talk to people that have been there, people that have seen these issues. A lot of folks will be like, Tyrell, man, you ain't never been through anything. You never seen anything. Well, we found people that have. We found people that have experienced what it's like to grow up in a drug area. We have experienced, who have experienced what it's like to be in a gang. We have people that know what it's like to have used drugs and smoked weed and smoked crack and been addicted to so many substances. We have found those people, and we brought them here so they can share their real story with a real attorney. So ladies and gentlemen, hold on tight. It's time to lawyer up.
Don't walk. Walk. Do not enter. Hot dogs. Definitely like hot dogs. Motorcycle club. Everything must go. Ghostly ghouls. Don't look at that, Teddy. Body piercing. Ouch.
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
Welcome to Lawyer Up. We're here today with a very exciting show for you. We have Mr. Jesse McCoy. How you doing, Mr. McCoy?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Look, tell me about what do you do for a living?
Well, I'm actually a housing attorney at Legal Aid of North Carolina in the Durham office.
Okay, in Durham. So how long have you been doing that?
I've been with the Durham office since January. Before that, I was with Legal Aid in Winston-Salem doing mostly domestic violence work. Domestic
violence, interesting. Tell us kind of where you came from, where you're from. Are you from Durham or are you from somewhere else? Just give us a little bit of your background so we can know about you.
Well, I was born in Durham, North Carolina. At an early age, I moved to Henderson, which is in Vance County. And in Henderson, we lived in a place called North Henderson Heights.
Okay.
And in North Henderson Heights, we were lodged between two houses of what they call, I guess, drug houses, where we oftentimes have a lot of addicts that will come through, some people in the community, some people outside of the community. I believe that this was during my formative years.
Well, let me ask you about that real quick. You said you grew up between two, you call them drug houses, some folks call them crack houses. What is it about? You grew up between two houses. Tell me about your experience growing up in that area. I mean, how old were you when that happened? Did you realize what was going on when you grew up in that area?
Well, these were my elementary school years.
Okay.
And so roughly from about kindergarten until fourth grade, this is where we were. Some of the experiences that I recall were a lot of nights where you would be frightened only because of all kinds of activity that was going on right outside your door. We had nights.
What type of activity are you talking about going outside your door? What was going on?
Well, we would have instances where we would have to get under the bed because people were shooting and we didn't want the bullets to ricochet through the windows. We would have situations where strange people, usually addicts, who would try to take advantage of children. We had one particular addict who used to have a really violent, angry dog that he would release on the kids whenever we gathered at the bus stop. So it was a different kind of experience.
I can tell. Now, were you there by yourself? Would your mom and dad live with you? I mean, tell us kind of what was going on with that.
Well, my father has never been involved in my life.
Okay.
My mother was there, but she always worked 2 and 3 jobs at a time. So the likelihood of her being there the whole time was always very low. As a result, I depended largely on the community to kind of raise me. So we had other people in the community who would come in, check on me and whatnot. But for a large part, I was there by myself.
Okay.
And I was given strict instructions from my mother as to don't open the door for strangers, make sure you keep a light on, make sure you keep music going so people know that somebody's in the house.
Well, I'm sure that experience had to affect your life, especially your early years. So after we get back from this break, I want to know a lot more about kind of what happened as you were growing up. We'll be right back with more Lawyer Up.
Pants, pants, pants. I am folding the pants. The pants are long. Do they go on my head? Do they? Do the pants go on my head? No. They go on.
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
Thomas Lynch, No Exit Productions.
Regina Sanders with Sanders Photography. I've been in photography business for 6 years, and the thing that I like most about being a photographer is shooting those special moments that people have together.
No Exit Production has been in the business for about 15 years. We cover the gamut when it comes to media production. We do everything from freelance for ESPN and Fox Sports to our own documentaries and video productions.
I love doing weddings, family reunions, baby showers, anything that you could possibly imagine that you want to share with someone else. About 3 years ago, I decided to team up with No Exit Production. It brought my business to another dimension. We now can offer video and photography.
When we teamed up with Sanders Photography, it was a perfect fit because we were able to expand our business to photos. You can log on to www.officialnxp.com.
Contact Regina Sanders at 252-717-0486 or Thomas Lynch at 252-714-8249.
We're back with Mr. Jesse McCoy. He was talking to us about his troubled upbringing. Mr. McCoy, tell us about how that growing up between those 2 drug houses and that experience that you had, how did it actually affect your life and your upbringing?
Well, one of the biggest ways it affected me was it allowed me to see how often poor people in poor communities are exploited by outsiders, be it drug dealers or other people from the community. And so one of the things that I had to adjust to was I developed a sense of escapism. And what I mean by that is in order to escape some of the things that were going on outside of my door, I would actively involve myself, and I was very involved in writing.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get to that in a little while, but now have you ever had a situation growing up where you grew up at where this stuff was actually in your face? I mean, drug dealers actually approached you, or gang members actually approached you, or did you have any situation where you actually had it literally in your face while you were growing up?
Well, we did have someone who was shot in our front yard.
Wow.
And that was a very trying experience, because I remember the number of police officers, EMTs, and in our community, police never came. So it was a really big deal for us. But my first interaction with gangs probably didn't happen until we moved to Durham County.
Okay.
And this was middle school, high school years. In Durham County, what I realized is at that time there appeared to be a societal failure where there were a lot of people who didn't have parents at home, or if they did, it was one parent, working parents, similar to my situation. They didn't have a lot of teachers who were really actively involved. I think a lot of the teachers back in that time were more quick to accuse you or write you off as not being worthy of going to college, not being worthy of being able to enjoy some of the fruits of America,
right?
Because of where you were from and who your parents were.
Right.
And I think that a lot of the gangs during that time kind of fed off of that population, in the sense that they could provide some sense of stability to people who didn't have it. The problem was, you know, on the back end they expect more.
Make sure I think I got you right. So when you were growing up and your experience that you had in Durham, it seemed like a lot of the people that got drawn to the gangs, or the gangs were going after, for lack of better words, was because they didn't have the support systems and the families. And it seems like you were a prime person for them to go after. So did you actually have to deal with them coming after you, or trying to ask you to join the gang, or did you even feel led to join the gang? I mean, if not, what made you stay away?
Well, one of the things that made me stay away, I think the strongest thing, was my mother.
Okay.
So I've always had a very strong pro-black revolutionary mother.
What you mean by that? Which, like, one of the,
right,
talk to me about it. Talk to me about it.
Well, from an early age, my mom always instructed me to read some of the great works of African American history and literature.
Okay.
One of the first books I was introduced to was Soul on Ice by Eldridge Cleaver.
Okay.
She also had autobiography of Malcolm X. And what she would do is, when she would have me read these books, I have to do reports to her.
Hold on. You said your mom made you do reports to you. So you read a book, I mean, it could be a bedtime story or something. You actually have to give a report to your mom. Did she grade you?
Yes. No, she didn't grade me.
Okay.
What she did was she would question me as far as what did I think that book meant for me, as far as black identity, as far as how I carry myself, how I conduct myself, and how I view the outside world looking at me.
So it seems like your mom wanted to use a lot of the black revolutionary books to instill some pride in you, to keep you from going in those opposite directions.
Absolutely.
Talk to me. All these books your mom had you read, you had the autobiography of Malcolm X and some of these other great African American arts. What book, if you had to pick one, which one is your favorite and meant the most to you and the most instrumental and influential in your life?
The one that meant the most, I would have to say, is the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Okay.
And the reason that I say that is because compared to the other books that I've read at that time, I believe that he was the first person who was honest and upfront about a lot of the various social issues that were going on in the 50s and 60s, but that still go on today. And I think that I could identify more with those frustrations as opposed to some of the other works that we read about involving more passive resistance, things of that nature.
Right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell on you a little bit, because you were the class president of North Carolina Central School of Law when I was a student there. So I know you have a rich history in the legal field, but I'm not going to talk about your legal history right now. I want to talk about how you go from a lawyer to an author. How in the world did that happen? You go from a lawyer to an author. What happened with that?
Well, it's very interesting. So going back to my roots in trying to escape what was going on outside my door, one of the things I got really involved in was writing.
Okay.
And the purpose of my writing was, you know, I didn't have a typical family structure, so I wanted to design characters that were like me. Mm-hmm. As I got older and I read more African American literature, I started to discover that in a lot of the big chain stores, we're limited in what we have to read.
Right.
And the limits are usually sex, drugs, gangs. If you don't have anything in that, you're not going to get published.
And that's the stuff we're talking about today, how to fight and get back from sex and the drugs and the gangs and the violence. That's what we're talking about today. So a lot of the books that we have are focused on those things.
Right. And I would believe that a lot of that is designed intentionally to perpetuate a certain culture.
Right.
But what happens is, even though that is a small segment of our society, there's a larger story that needs to be told.
Okay.
For instance, we don't have a lot of mythological stories.
Okay.
So there are a lot of people who can trace their families and their culture and their religion to different legends in history. That was all taken from us.
Right.
So what I wanted to do with writing, specifically in my first book, was to create that lineage, create that legendary story that sets us on that path.
Tell you what, we're going to talk about your books and the stories in your books, and after we get back from these breaks, we'll be right back with more Lawyer Up.
One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 little piggies ready to play. The big pig is Pedro. Pedro Piggy. He's the big piggy.
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
All right, my people, when you first wake up in the morning, you got to get some food for your body. You got to get some
Yum, yum, yum.
My mama's going to be making some turkey sausage. And
So good.
some bacon.
So good.
Some grits. Some eggs. And that get your body moving. It gets your body good. But you got to not get just food for your body. You need to get some food for your soul. You need to turn it to 100.1 FM, the new generation of gospel, and get some fresh food for yourself. And you need to turn it to ncpraise.com or get on the NC Praise app and get some breakfast for your soul. We had a good one today. We had a good one today. Miss Trendset and Trina did it today, y'all. She did it. And we're going to give y'all a replay right here of the Breakfast for Your Soul food. What's up?
We're back with lawyer, writer, reader, Mr. Jesse McCoy. Tell us about the books that you actually have. I think you actually have one here today for us to look at. Tell us about your books. You said you had a process of trying to create a story, a lineage for African Americans. Tell us about how your books actually do that.
Well, my first book is called Family Saga, and it's the first book of a 7-book series.
Okay.
And it focuses around the character Sunyata. Sunyata is a character whose father is a vicious warlord, and he has a twin brother, all stemming from Africa. He goes on these adventures after he's displaced from his family in trying to rediscover who he is. But along the way, he has to confront mythological creatures that come up during his journey. And in doing so, he learns interesting things about himself and creates kind of the patriarchal setting for where all of the other storybooks will come from.
I got to ask you, because now I grew up in elementary school, middle school, reading mythological stories such as, you got the Hercules type stories. Now, are you telling me that your book, is it something like a black Hercules type story, or is it with him fighting different types of things?
Exactly.
It's like that?
Exactly. So essentially it develops from the start of the fall of the Grecian gods.
Okay.
And it goes into the rise of African heroes. And this is the first of the African heroes in my 7-book series that will ultimately go from that time period to modern day as it traces a family. I like to call it Roots meets Star Wars in a sense.
So I like that. So Roots meets, that's definitely interesting. Now I see you have another book. I mean, you're trying to show off here, not just your writing ability. You also have some law going on, and you have a legal thriller you were telling me about at one point. Tell me about the legal thriller that you wrote.
Well, as you know, as an attorney, you come across very interesting people.
You cannot make this stuff up. I don't know how we do it.
So one of the things I did was I created a legal thriller.
Okay.
And the legal thriller centers around 3 main attorneys with 2 primary focuses. So one is a white attorney whose grandfather was a governor.
Okay.
He's a Republican. And he's a disappointment to his grandfather because he doesn't see things in that Republican view. His best friend is the new attorney on the block, a guy by the name of Jesse Black. And Jesse Black is a criminal defense attorney. He's new, he's popular, he's getting televised on his cases. One of the cases that he's assigned is a case where he believes the person he's represented has been wrongfully accused of being a serial killer.
Wow.
And so the story follows his investigation, his preparation, and ultimately his discoveries.
Interesting. And I got the character's name is Jesse.
Jesse, that's correct.
Okay, Mr. Jesse McCoy. Can't make this stuff up, y'all. Well, look, if anybody had the opportunity to buy one of these books or get a copy of these books, how could they do it? And I'm going to let everybody know, you don't know this now, but the Clemons Law Firm and Lawyer Up, we're going to make sure we get a copy of these books to give away for folks that watch these shows. I might get at least 2 or 3 of them to give away because the legal thriller, you know that's right down my alley. But if someone else that's watching out there wanted to get a copy of these books, what would they have to do to make that happen?
The best place to go is lulu.com. That's www.lulu.com. And you would just type my name, Jesse McCoy, in the search box.
Okay.
And it brings up, there's Family Saga Book 1, the softback. Family Saga Book 1, there's a digital version for Kindle, iPad.
There we go.
And then Black's Law, right now is only a physical copy, but will be in September a digital copy as well.
Okay, well, that sounds really good. Look, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us because a lot of people do not know how to overcome the things that they had to overcome. I mean, you've seen it firsthand. You've seen the drug dealing. You've seen the drug addicts come into your house. You've seen people shot in your area, but you did not let that stuff deter you. You used books as a way to escape. Now, if there was anything that you can tell the youth, the young people, the people that experience what you have experienced, is there anything that you can tell them to make sure that they don't fall into that trap? I want you to look in this camera right here and give them a quick scenario of what they can do to make sure that they do not fall into the trap of drugs, sex, and violence and gangs.
Young people, you can do anything, and I mean anything, that you set your mind to do. There will be a lot of people along the way who will tell you that you can't. People told me that I couldn't go to college, I couldn't go to law school, I couldn't be a writer. You can do whatever it is that you set your mind to. And don't feel like you have to follow the crowd or follow what's popular just to belong to something, because sometimes what looks good to you isn't always good for you.
Well, look, I really appreciate you, Mr. McCoy, and thanks for coming. We'll see you next time on More Lawyer Up.
Dimes are shiny and round. Nickels are also round. Dollars are not round. Dollars are rectangles. What can I buy with 2 rectangles?
A bus ride.
You're right. Good job, honey.
When you talk with your child, you build vocabulary, and learning starts long before school does. For more tips, go to bornlearning.org.
All the evidence is in, and now it's time for the final arguments of the lawyers. When I hear those words, I feel like a baseball player in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs, and I'm up to bat. When I hear those words, I feel like a basketball player with 3 seconds on the clock and the game is on the line. When I hear those words, I feel like a quarterback in the 4th quarter on a game-winning drive, 2 minutes left to go. When I hear those words, I feel like I'm in a championship fight. I need a knockout to win. When I hear those words, there's one thought that goes in my mind. There's one thought that plays over and over again. There's one phrase that I continuously hear. And that phrase is, let's go to work.
Horseradish. Is that for horses? Remember me, Mr. Lobster? From last Tuesday? Banana. 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 Here comes the rain. We need a hat. And why do we need a hat? It's a giant. That's right.
When you talk with your child, you build vocabulary, and learning starts long before school does. For more tips, go to bornlearning.org.
Now in court, I oftentimes say something kind of like this. You can smoke cigarettes for 15 years, but you're still going to have to deal with cancer. You can quit, you can stop smoking, everything can be over, but you're still going to have to deal with cancer. You have to deal with the bad decisions that you made in life. There's a wise saying that goes, experience is a good teacher, but a fool learns from none other. Today we had real people talking about real issues, real struggles, real challenges that they overcame. They talked about the cancer that they overcame from the choices that they made in their life. That was a song that went that the children are our future. That song is very true. And these people took the time out of their day to make sure they can express to you how not to follow in their footsteps, how not to get cancer, how not to make the bad decisions that they made in their lives. Now, so many young people struggle in these areas of drugs. So many young people struggle in the areas of violence. So many young people struggle in the areas of gangs. And so many people wonder, can it happen? Can I deal with it? Can I fix it? Can I beat this thing? But we have people today through this series that told you and showed you that it can be done. It doesn't matter what situation you find yourself in, you can overcome it. We have real people that did that. I care so much about the youth. I care so much about our future. And these people care so much about you, they do not want you to fall in the trap. If you have a criminal record, if you're a person that's addicted to marijuana, addicted to cocaine, or addicted to anything like that, it will affect your life. They told you that it would affect your life. It affected their lives. If you're in a situation like that, get help. We have people here that will be able to help you. They told you the numbers. You can get help. Our future, the future for myself, the future for my family, the future for my child, the future depends on you. We need to make sure that we are taking care of the future. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the future. So what I want you to do is to make sure that you learn from the mistakes and not following those footsteps. Thank you for tuning in, and watch next time for more Lawyer Up. Tune in right here to this channel to watch Lawyer Up. It's a real show with real people talking to a real attorney. You don't want to miss it. Watch Lawyer Up.